So how to properly lace up a corset back dress. We have the privacy panel here, which some brides choose not to wear. I was able to go ahead and do the snap on the side. Again, not always necessary because sometimes it actually fights you. So you're going to start at the top, and you're always going to work from the inside to the out. Of course, it'd be nice if I could actually get it going here. Here we go. I'm going to actually try to even it up at the bottom as best possible. And I'm right-handed, so I started with the right. Again, in to out. And then we take the other one. Those of us who remember lacing up our shoes, it's the same thing. So, a good rule of thumb, depending on how your brain works, if you have one strap on each side, always grab the right one. If you have two on each side and you happen to look away and come back, always grab the top one. Another way of thinking about it is I'm starting with my right one, then I'm going to my left, which was the one on the top, but now my left one just became my right, and I'm going to use it again. So again, it all depends on how you think. Continuing down to the very end, I like to simply use up as much lace as possible. Another thing you want to pay attention to, and it depends on the fabric the lacing is made of, is sometimes it will twist on you as you are going through. You just want to make sure you twist it back to be flat. Following this pattern, you will have the same one going behind every single time, which not only is aesthetically pleasing, but it makes it much easier when we get to the tightening process. You do want to make sure you allow enough time in your timeline of getting ready, because depending on how the loops are constructed, the width and the fabric of the lacing, it can often take much more time, and especially if you're not an experienced person that does this practically in their sleep like I do. Okay, so we're getting down to the bottom. Now if you're able to do this standing in front of the mirror so that the person doing the lacing can see in the mirror over their shoulder as well, that's highly recommended, but of course not mandatory. Because as you're pulling, you can see how it's doing it to them, and they can see how they're looking. All right, so going back to the top, we're going to start pulling, and when I tighten, we want to crisscross. That gives them best leverage on the loops. Come down, you can pull up your slack by pulling straight out, but then crisscross. Just give them a good yank. Old-fashioned days, that's why they needed bedposts. I've even had some brides just brace themselves against the wall. Now this dress is a little big around her hips, but it's still perfectly fine and beautiful. And I'm pulling the extra down through, which you don't want to do on your day of. We don't want them to be meeting, preferably there. And you just want a nice even angle, if that's how your dress happens to fit. Sometimes they come a little bit more square to each other. Now, when I mentioned at the top about the privacy panel and the snap back here, if I'm going to tighten it a little bit more, just relax, you don't need to. That snap is actually fighting me, and it depends on her day. Some people swell up, so I just undo the snap so that I can tighten her more. And at this point, it's actually the bride's job, or if it happens to be prom or another event, it is the person wearing the dress job to tell you where they want it tighter or looser. Most of the time you're going to look at where the normal bra line's going to be, and normally that's where everybody wants it a little tighter. And just keep working it down. It is a step-by-step process. Generally there are two options when it comes to finishing it off. You may do a simple bow, depending. Very lovely, a good choice. And this is something you would decide previously. Or you can just do a square knot, right over left, left over right type thing. Take your two ends. Generally, you'd like to get intimate with the person, go up under all of the layers. If I can get my hand under there. There's a lot of layers on this bad boy. Take your ends and put them in the hole there so that you can grab them with your other hand and yank it all the way through. So it has a nice flush finish there. And that is how you properly lace your corset back dress.